into something darker. Feel the life drip away. Arise and face me. The night shall consume them.
Hey guys, welcome back. We are playing Vladimir today. It is a late game scaling mage with extremely high solo carry potential. To go through the basics for the newer players really fast, so his passive, when you get bonus ability power, then it also gives you some bonus health, and it also works the other way around. So it is a champion that becomes extremely tanky even though you're mainly building AP. Your Q is a single target damaging ability that also heals you for some of the damage dealt, and every single time you use this ability, then it's going to give you a stack. Once you have 2 stacks, then your next Q is going to become empowered. When it's empowered, then it gives you a short burst of movement speed, it deals more damage, and it also heals you for more. And when it's empowered, you can see that right below your HP bar. When that second bar is red, that's when your next Q is going to deal more damage. Your E is your wave clear. It is an ability that you can charge by holding it down. If you hold it down and charge it, then it's going to deal more damage. It deals AoE damage, but it can be body blocked. You can also use it to last hit with under the tower, so if the caster minions are under your tower and they're full HP, you can like tap your E really fast. You don't hold it down, just tap it, because then they're gonna be just enough low HP for you to last hit the minions with a single auto attack. So that makes it a lot easier to farm as well. Your E costs health to use, guys, and same thing goes for your W. W is that ability that makes you untargetable. You can channel your E while you're in that pool, the W, and that's basically what Vladimir is known for, because it allows him to get damage off while people are unable to target you back. So that W, you mainly want to use it to counter abilities, but also when you engage, because people will not be able to target you, meaning that they cannot exhaust you, they cannot CC you or anything else. So that makes his engages really good. So it is a sustained champion. His early game is pretty weak, so most of the time you want to be playing it out safe. Just use that Q to last hit with as well, because it gives you some HP back. So you're playing the sustain game, where you want to out-sustain the opponent, especially if it's a mage. Most of the time you let them push, and then when that empowered Q comes up, you can try to hit the enemy champion, but if they see it coming up, then they should be running away. Sometimes they will not do that, and then of course you can get some free damage off, but most of the time they will. But if you are losing some HP, then make sure that you get that Q off, because it does deal a lot of damage, but even more importantly, it's going to give you more health back. So make sure you use that so you get some really good sustain. So you can also do the E flash, and that's something you want to do if you want to catch the opponent off guard, like I did right here, because when you know you have enough damage, but the opponent has flash up or something else they can use to disengage with, then you can use that E plus flash and then follow up with your Q, and that should be enough. So Vladimir is a champion that really wants ability haste, so you can lower those cooldowns and spam the abilities later on. That's why I really like to get that Fiendish Codex early on, because that gives you AP as well as ability haste. And once you get that, then you can build straight into the rocket belt. You can also get the CDR boots if you want to, but if you're playing against a squishy team, then the sock shoes are also fine. So early game, he's pretty weak early game, but you can still go for kills if you manage to get good trades off. But main goal in the early game is just to farm up, try to out-sustain the opponent, try to make them go out of mana, and if they are, then you should be able to win it, because you have permanent sustain. Now you got your ultimate up, so when you use it, you're going to target an area, and everyone who gets hit by your ultimate, they will receive more damage from all sources, And once that ultimate runs out, then it's going to deal damage to everyone you hit. So because it's going to amplify the damage the target will receive, you want to try to use this ultimate as the first thing in a fight if you want to do the most amount of damage. For Vladimir, just farm up guys, last hit the minions for Q. Be extremely careful with your W guys. Even though it's really good for escaping and dodging abilities, it has a high cooldown, but it also costs a lot of HP, so you do not want to be spamming this ability whenever it's ready. Only use it if it's extremely important. If they have like a kill threat over you or something, they can go for the kill or something, then that's when you can use it, but try to save it for the most important moment. Just farm little Q, and if you're really good at dodging skill shots, then of course you can maneuver around and try to hit the opponent with a couple Qs. You try to like slowly poke them down, but Vladimir is not a champion that can like match the early DPS of something like a Syndra. You really have to play way better than her, because she is strong in the early game, she's the lane bully, and Vladimir is a late game scaling mage. You can channel your E when you want to push out the waves, because when you channel it, it's going to deal more damage. So when you want to push it out fast, then of course do so, and then you can reset, you can invade the enemy jungler, or you can even roam if you want to. Make sure that you use that Q as much as possible. You can like poke the opponent under the tower as well. It's like a basic combo. When your empowered Q is coming up, then you channel that E, and then use that Q as well. And then when you go into the W, the pull, then of course you become untargetable, so the tower will not be able to hit you. So you can use that to reset tower aggro, minion aggro, and so on. Sitting on a lot of gold right now, the number one priority when playing Vladimir is having good farm. You can get kills sometimes in the early stages guys, but your main goal is always to be able to farm up. That's how it goes for all of these late game scaling champions. Main goal is to farm up, so that is what you have to focus on. Sometimes you will be able to get kills. I'm playing with Ignite, because if you're able to get kills, then you're going to snowball a lot faster. And Ignite of course makes that even easier because you have much higher kill pressure. So your teammates might be running it down in the side lane, maybe they're winning or they're getting stomped. You can't really do much about it because you don't have that much impact in the early game. So if it happens, you don't have that much impact guys, you just have to focus on farming. In the mid lane you want to get your items, meaning that you want to get at least a rocket build and then one more item, which is the Cosmic Drive, but you can also go for Rabbit on Death Cap if you want to. If you want to go for like a full one-shot build early on, then you can do that as well. And this is the damage you get straight from level 6. So Vladimir does have some kill pressure, but you need to like prepare the opponent, you know, poke them a bit, so you put them like 70-60% HP or so on. If you do so, then you can finish them off with a full combo. When you go for the all-in, try to have your Empower Q ready. You want to go all-in just before it comes up because it is going to decay. And if it decays, then your Empower Q will not, or your normal Q will not deal as much damage as the empowered one. Also, you want to be really selfish when you play these scaling champions, you know, like Vladimir, Kassadin, Kayle, Veigar, Alcea and so on. So if your jungle is trying to invade and contest objectives and such, then most of the time you'll not be able to help them out, and that is also not your goal. Sometimes you can help them if you have a big lead in the laning phase, but most of the time you cannot because you're pretty weak early game. So focus on yourself first, focus on getting yourself ahead, stay up in CS because you're going to carry the game later on anyways. But don't try to go for stuff that can potentially put you even further behind, because that is going to make it way harder to get back into the game. Now we got that free boots up, of course, we use that rune because it is free, 300 gold, meaning that we get to scale up a lot faster. We're gonna focus on getting ability haste items, so that means items like the Cosmic Drive. You also have Lucidity boots as an option. I like to build that as well, but against a squishy team, then Sork shoes are really good. Constantly use that Q. Your E and your W does cost some health, but your Q is free to use. Make sure that you get as much health back as possible. As I said, goal is to out-sustain the opponent. They can spam their abilities early on, but as soon as they run out of mana, that's when you have prio in the lane, because they will not be able to match your wave clear without any mana. They will also not be able to trade with you, so that's when you start taking over the lane. Onto that, you start playing a bit more careful, heal back up from the minions, and if you can hit the enemy champion with free Qs, of course go for that. Because then maybe you can look for an all-in with that ultimate and your flash as well. Just keep pushing up, we're going to scale up guys. This champion is insane in the late game. Like if you go for a late game team fight and you hit the entire enemy team with a full combo, you're gonna wipe them out. That's an auto win, that's a guaranteed win for your team. That's how strong this champion is. He has ridiculous amount of burst damage, but his problem is getting there. So that's why you have to be really good at farming, because that is the only consistent thing you can do every single game. You will not be able to pick up kills every single game. But farming, that is something you can do no matter what. It's very important that you focus on that, especially when you play those scaling champions. As for the keystones, you also have several options. Electrocute is good for those all-ins. Then you also have Predator. It did get nerfed though, so it's not as strong anymore. I like to use Phase because Vladimir's main problem is the fact that he's immobile. He does not have dashes and so on. He does have with rocket belt, but that doesn't really count. So without any real movement abilities, then it's going to make it really easy for the opponents to kite him. So when you have Phase Rush, then you have that extra bonus movement speed and also that slow resistance that makes it really like super hard for people to kite you. Not only that, also when you get ganked by the enemy jungler, you can like quickly use a basic combo and then you can proc that Phase Rush and then you can just run away with that bonus movement speed. So that is definitely the keystone I'm using the most, but you have several options that you can choose from. Right here, use the W. If you have to use it, then you want to save it for the most important ability the opponent has. In this case, that was the Syndra's E, because if we got stunned by it, then we would most likely end up dead. So be careful when you use it, but also don't be way too greedy with it. So if your teammates are winning, then of course it's a lot easier to scale up. That's how it goes all of these team gap games. But when they're losing, that's why the hard part really begins, because you really have to focus on farming and not losing your mental. That happens a lot in lower elos for sure. It also happens in high elo, so mute all if you have to, guys. Focus on scaling up. You want to play for those power spikes you have on Vladimir, because even if they're far behind your teammates, when you get your items, just one good teamfight can turn the entire game around. So the next item, the next fully completed item is going to be the Cosmic Drive, but right now the enemy team has a really squishy team composition, so you can go for Sock Shoes, because that gives you some flat magic pen. A flat magic pen is good when the opponent will not be able to buy a lot of magic resistance. That's why it becomes really effective. So if you're playing against a squishy team composition, then make sure that you get that. But if they have like a tanky team composition, then you can also go for the Lucidity Boots. They are cheaper and they also give you ability haste. Ability haste and also for your summoner spells. So abilities as well as summoners come off cooldown a lot faster. Just like a quick combo that you can do if the opponent is ganking you. You don't always have to use that ultimate to kill somebody with. If you're low HP or you just need a fast keystone proc for the bonus movement speed, then you can just do that as well, because it's gonna help you survive. And you also get some HP back with that ultimate, guys. Also important, so if you like hit multiple champions in a fight, that's going to give you a lot of HP back. And since that W does make you untargetable, that means that abilities like the Syndra's ultimate is not going to do anything if you go into that pool. But it does cost, like, I think it was 20% of your HP, so in the early game that is a lot, so you definitely do not want to be spamming it. We got the tower in the mid game, meaning that the mid game started. And your goal at this point, most of the time you want to be in the side lane, because that is where you can get XP and gold for yourself. You don't want to share anything with your teammates, but if they don't want to rotate, then of course you can't do much, and then you just have to stay mid. But make sure that even though you might be strong at this stage, still make sure that you farm up. So right now we are going for a dive in the bottom side, and that's because I pushed out the mid lane, so there's nothing else to do there. So we go bot lane. Vladimir is really good at diving because of his W, makes him untargetable. So it's like a Elise where you can engage the dive, you can start it off, and then whenever you use that W, your pull, then the tower is going to lose aggro, and that tower shot is also going to disappear. So you can also go to the side lanes and dive the opponent. So if you see an opportunity in the side lane, then definitely make sure that you roam and get that kill. And because of that roam, we also got the bottom tower. So now all the outer towers are down, but we still want to be in the side lane for as long as possible. We do have the Dark Seal, and that's something you can buy on your first base, and then of course if you're getting fed, or if you know that you can get it fully stacked, then you can get the Magi-Ice, and this is a snowballing item. Gives you insane amount of damage if you get it stacked, but it also punishes really hard if you die, because you're gonna lose a lot of stacks. So if your AD carry does not want to rotate, you can't really do much honestly, so just stay mid. Keep farming up because you're gonna outscale most champions in the game. And especially if you meet something like a mage, AD carry, or something as squishy support like a Lux, Janna, Lulu and so on, and they step up, you can one-shot them. You're gonna straight up one-shot them as soon as you have the items you need. But for how you engage in those team fights, you want to focus down the squishies, so the AD carry, the mid lane carry, the support, the enchanter support, the carry jungler, whatever they have, you want to focus them, and you want to hit as many people as possible, because a lot of your damage is AoE, so you want to be flanking. So it's important that you have that red sweeper in your trinket slot, because then you can clear out vision. So you can like get a good flank off, and then you can flank. It's even better if you have your flash up, because then you can do that charging your E, and then you can flash in to get a really quick combo off, and that's going to auto win the team fight for you. It's okay to group at this stage of the game, but honestly, that is just going to slow you down. It's a lot better if you just go to the side lane, so that's why I'm really trying to do that as much as possible, so we can extend that CS lead and XP lead as well. Because level 16 is a massive power spike. It's not a Kassadin level power spike, but you know, you get the last point into your ultimate. It's like you hit the entire enemy team with that ultimate and the rest of your abilities, and that is an auto win. They cannot counterplay that. That's a quick face rush proc right here, which is what allowed us to get away, and we also got a ton of damage off. This is Vladimir pretty much in the late game. We have almost a fully stacked Magi-Ice, and then we also have the rocket build, so we're extremely fed right now, but this is what this champion can do if you get your items. That's why it is so important that you mainly focus on farming, because if you can do that, you will be able to get to this stage. You have to learn how to stall with these scaling champions like Vladimir and Kassadin. But this is why I really like this keystone. It is the only reason I survived this fight, otherwise I would have died as well. So it really makes up for his weakness of being immobile. So now we got the Cosmic Drive. Of course that also gives some mobility, but more importantly we want it for the ability haste. Because if you can put your abilities on a low cooldown, you'll be able to spam them in fights, and almost no champion will be able to match that at this point in the game. We also want enough gold for a large rod. The next item is going to be the Rapidon's Death Cap. You can get the Sonya's Hourglass if you want to. That is mainly if you are struggling against a AD heavy team composition, or if you're struggling against an AD assassin mid, then you can get it. But like 90% of the time I go Rapidons at this point, because that is what's going to give you the biggest damage spike in the game. Just a Tito running it down, nothing to see here. Got the large rod. Still need a bit more gold for the Rapidon's Death Cap, but at this point in the game we're already gonna one-shot the entire team, just because of how fit we are, guys. So when you get to this point in the game, then you should be able to carry as Vladimir. You want to be flanking, you don't want to go in from the front unless you have somebody who can engage for you. You want to be flanking, so try to like find ways that you can flank from, wait for the carries to overextend, wait for them to use flash or any other important movement ability, and then you can go in. Even though I'm really far ahead this game, it is pretty much over at this point, but you can see how much focus I have on really going to these islands and getting all the farm I can. This is something you have to do on these scaling champions, because this is the only way that you can keep up in farm, especially if it's in a game where you are even or behind with the enemy team. Then this is the most effective way of getting back into the game without getting like a million kills. We have fully stacked Magi's, of course really fun when you have that, because you just charge your E, flash onto the opponent, and they're gonna get one shot by full combo. That's an auto win. It's really easy to play when you're ahead. Our problem is playing Vladimir when you're behind. Not just Vladimir, but also scaling champions. That's why I'm showing you guys how important it is to farm in the side lane. Your teammates might get caught, of course you can run teleport, but if they get caught, it's your job to be there before they do so. But if you can make it even more worth it by being in the side lane, split pushing, getting minions, and maybe even a tower, if it is more worth it, then of course just stay in the side lanes. Because almost every single game your teammates are going to get caught. That's what happens in solo queue. So you cannot trust them. It is going to happen all the time. So it's your job to predict it. If you think they're going to get caught, then just group up. Otherwise, stay in the side lanes. You can like pick up a wave in the side lane, push it, and then group with your teammates. And then when the next wave is coming in, that's when you can go back. Remember, what's really important about Vladimir, with the way you want to engage in fights, always, when you go for that fast engage, channel your E inside your W. Because you get the damage off, and you also make it so the opponent cannot target you. If they cannot target you, they will not be able to CC you, they will not be able to damage you, they will not be able to exhaust you or anything else. That's what makes Vladimir really OP in teamfights, because there's really low counterplay. So now we have enough gold for the Rapidons. That is a massive spike. Just gonna one-shot the entire enemy team at this point. If they have a squishy team, then it's GG's, because most of the time people just FF as soon as they see you being this fat and they see you have that Rapidons. because it's pretty much game over at this point. You have so much damage. You can destroy most people in a 1 versus 1 as well, especially if it's a squishy target. So just group with your team when you have the items you need to, guys. And it's even better if you have your flash up. Because then you can just run straight into the enemy team like 1 versus 5 and just blow them up. And this is the power of Vladimir. This is what he can do in the late game. You don't have to be this fed. As soon as you manage to CS well, you will get to the late game and you will be able to do stuff like this. But this is pretty much what you have to do on Vladimir, guys. Really focus on farming up. That is your #1 priority. Sometimes you'll be able to get kills, sometimes you won't. But farming is the consistent thing you can do every game, so focus on that. This was the Vladimir video. I hope this was helpful. As always, thanks for watching and see you all in the next one.